Hello, my name is Dan Miller. My wife and I have been volunteering for the Gifford Park Association for 42 years. With that has come a long view of the remarkable improvements that took place. It is my hope that this video will serve as a testament to the power of individuals and neighbors to make a difference in their community. Chuck and Audrey Behrens lived in the square surrounding Gifford Park and were Gifford Park Association's founding fathers. They got together with other neighbors who agreed that the neighborhood was at an all-time low and something needed to happen to bring it back. The founding fathers asked Mr. Alft, Elgin's premier historian, what he thought we should do to improve our neighborhood. He suggested we get historic district status, which would bring pride and confidence to our neighborhood. That was the first major project that we accomplished. Later, we lobbied to get preservation ordinance for our neighborhood. Old Main had a fire in it and was just a shell. The Gifford Park Association volunteered to help clean it up. We did some of the legwork to get Old Main on the National Register of Historic Places. We sponsored a Mark Twain impersonator to come to Elgin to give his presentation as a fundraiser for Old Main. He gave several, including many to grade school groups. We wanted to improve the looks of the park, so volunteers created a brick carriage walk with the Gifford Park Association buying the brick pavers. For many years, the Gifford Park Association hosted a night in the park where neighbors could share food, conversation, games for children, and entertainment for all. Here's a picture of volunteers decorating a temporary stage for the event. In the early 1980s, a GPA member was vacationing in St. Louis where he noticed wonderful banners all over the city. He suggested the city of Elgin do the same. Our city council was not interested. So GPA silkscreened their own banners highlighting our upcoming historic Elgin house tour, as you can see on the left. Volunteers made the hardware and put the banners up in downtown. Years later, the city decided that it was a good idea and started doing banners of their own, like the Foxtrot one shown on the right. GPA purchased Housewalk banners to display downtown. The city now puts them up for us. By 1980, the once grand home at 155 South Gifford had fallen on hard times when a proposal was made to convert it into a halfway house for troubled men. While it was an honorable idea, GPA opposed it. The neighborhood was already stressed with social service agencies and deteriorating housing. Plus, the home sat across the street from an elementary school. This was the first time GPA got involved in a controversial zoning decision. Volunteers took petitions around the neighborhood for residents to say they opposed it. GPA was successful at opposing the idea. Here is 155 South Gifford after going through a 12-year historically sensitive rehab. A few years later, a similar situation occurred at 416 East Chicago Street. The home had a fire and sat vacant. An agency proposed making it a home for troubled girls. GPA members, along with many others, testified against it to the city council. The neighborhood defeated the idea, and the house is now a wonderful single-family home with great neighbors. The Gifford Park Association applied for a grant to have a gazebo built in Gifford Park. 164 North Gifford had deteriorated badly. The bank that owned the mortgage was giving a mortgage, then foreclosing on it and giving another mortgage, and then foreclosing on it again because it could not appeal to people that could afford it. The bank approached the Gifford Park Association about overseeing the rehab of the building so that they could finally attract more qualified buyers. We did it, and we did get some new neighbors. Here it is today. Chapel Street was one of several which motorists would use to cut through the side streets to avoid traffic. GPA asked the city to close Chapel Street at Villa Street to stop the practice, and they did it. A similar closure was completed at Geneva and Villa. This float was our first participation in the 4th of July parade. Here is our recent participation in the parade. Every year, the Gifford Park Association decorates our signs with wreaths. For years, we decorated the light posts with garlands and bows. We've had lots of volunteer efforts in several parks and street corners throughout the historic district. Neighborhood grant funds, along with GPA funds and volunteer labor, allowed decorative street name signs to be installed. Before the age of the internet, we put out quarterly hard copy newsletters for the neighborhood. It allowed us to keep everyone abreast of the issues. About 10 volunteer paper boys and girls would hand deliver them. Twice we have reprinted Mr. Alft's books, which he originally dedicated to us. We used to sell them, but are now giving them away. We love old-fashioned potluck dinners and have had 40 of them. It's a great way to be exposed to some great food and get to know your neighbors. We typically have a short educational program and give out awards. Over the years, the Gifford Park Association has been involved in 2 large-scale tree planting programs in the neighborhood. Here's a young tree that was planted. This is about 10 years later. There used to be a little house that was turned into a grocery store at the corner of Chicago and Geneva. It burned and the lot was left vacant for many years. The county wasn't getting taxes, so it took over the property and gave it to the Gifford Park Association. We added a fancy iron fence, lots of landscaping, benches, and a brick walk. It's now a wonderful addition to the neighborhood. We call it our pocket park. A street was taken out to make room for the casino parking. We salvaged the old street pavers for use in our pocket park. We won an image award from the city for our pocket park. For many years, we had what we called an historic home marketing committee. They advertised in places like Crane, Chicago, and held open houses to promote our houses. We now do it on the internet. With their permission, we borrowed the idea and name Great Unveiling from Rock Island. A Great Unveiling is an old-fashioned barn-raising type of event where volunteers come in and take the substitute siding off of buildings. We often finish by noon and then have a lunch for volunteers. We have done more than 30. We started the event by giving a $1,000 reward to anyone that would do it. The city took over the grant giving, a $5,000 reward, period. With the financial crunch in 2007, the city stopped doing that, so we're back to giving $1,000 rewards for taking your substitute siding off. Look at the huge difference it made in that house. Showing the fish scales, showing the window and the gable. A wonderful unveiling at 28 North Porter, which made a huge difference on the house. The wonderful gable ornament and windows were hidden by aluminum siding. Here's a few of the participants, and look at that incredible gable ornament and window that had been hidden by the siding. Here we're taking the siding off and exposing the window that they had boarded up. We encourage people to get their houses plaqued. If you'd like to see all the houses that have been plaqued in Elgin with a description of the houses, go to historicelgin.com. It shows all the houses in Elgin that have been plaqued. Neighborhood plans often are written by city staff or professional planners. In our case, local residents, with the help from professionally trained volunteers, created an analysis and plan using a grassroots look at the neighborhood. It is a wonderful document. It can be found on the Gifford Park Association website. In the summer, we have periodic get-togethers called porch parties. They are held outside with great food, great drinks, and some good conversation. It is a wonderful way to build a community. Since the beginning of the website revolution, the Gifford Park Association has had a wonderful website with an incredible amount of information on it. It has all the past Housewalk booklet pages. It has past pictures of Housewalks and pictures of every house in the district from the 1981 and 2008 surveys. It also has lots and lots of articles for old house restorers. It is an amazing resource. Here is the page showing the articles for restorers. Here's all the Housewalk booklet pages. Here's a single booklet page. We created a new and fancy website for the Housewalk that works better on cell phones. Our resident officer sponsors a camp for kids every summer, and we always donate $300. Here we're getting congratulated. Neighborhood Housing Services bought 326 East Chicago to use as their office. The GPA board and the Neighborhood Housing Services board were often confused as many of our members were the same. When an original picture of the home was uncovered, the Gifford Park Association found grants and lobbied strongly to have the exterior restored to its current beauty. It became an inspiration for the neighborhood. The Gifford Park Association uses the proceeds from their Housewalk to buy problem properties, rehab them, and resell them. This house at 21 North Porter was bought in 1987 for $36,000. It sold recently for $270,000. We rehabbed it and sold it for about $75,000, making a $2,000 profit. It was the first and last time we made a profit on a rehab. We are honestly not in it to make money. Our number one goal is to improve the neighborhood. What a difference we made on the looks of that house. 28 North Gifford was purchased in 1992, rehabbed by us and sold to some great new neighbors. Again, opening up the porches, taking off the substitute siding, what a difference. Neighborhood Housing Services bought 396 Division to rehab it. It had been used as a clinic where drug users could go for help. There used to be a daily line in the morning with people waiting for services. There were some special changes on the outside of 396 Division that needed doing to improve the looks of the house. Neighborhood Housing Services couldn't afford to do them, so we donated $10,000 to them for the exterior. It now has some great new neighbors. Neighborhood Housing Services decided to move their offices. They bought 205 North Gifford and rehabbed what was a crash pad with a padlock on every door. The owner was a pack rat, and GPA volunteers filled several dumpsters cleaning it out. The Gifford Park Association helped oversee the project and did lots of volunteer labor there. We got a local businessman to donate the money for the landscaping materials, and we installed many of them. Again, what a difference we made. Look at the before and after. 132 North Channing was a nasty 2-unit. When apartments are not nice, you can only appeal to people that can't afford anything better. Gifford Park Association purchased the property, and with the help of grants from the city, we rehabbed the building, making it a single-family home. The front and back porches were made by a GPA volunteer using reclaimed redwood lumber from a water tower. So the front porch on the right was made by a volunteer. Here's the back porch, also made by a volunteer. Basement windows and some trim were also done by a volunteer. 40 North Gifford had problems, including being covered with stucco and having the porch enclosed. The owner even stuccoed the chain link fence, making it solid. We took the stucco off, rehabbed the house, and rebuilt the porches. We had attracted some great new owners. GPA made a huge difference on that house. All the years that they had Christmas window decorating contests downtown, the Gifford Park Association participated. We won several awards. We participated several years in the Downtown Neighborhood Association's work days. We have had many work days of our own, maintaining the plantings in Gifford Park. Working shoulder to shoulder on a neighborhood project builds community. We were responsible for getting historic streetlights in our neighborhood. We had an engineer in the group that drew up the plan. We were in the right place at the right time when the government came up with a grant program called ICE-T. It gave fuel tax money for aesthetics, not just roads. An early project was the installation of large and small entryway signs around the perimeter of the district. We helped make the white historic district signs on the left, and later, with help from the city, we paid for new signs for the historic district as shown on the right. We held a citywide contest to come up with a design for the new sign. A member won with this sign on the right. Over the years, we've sponsored several Little League teams. Very satisfying. We were proud to participate in the rehab of the historic Elgin watch factory depot. By donating $10,000, our donation gave the project credibility, which then got the city involved. It was built as a special stop for people working at the watch factory. It was an example of GPA giving money to a project that was not in our neighborhood. The Historical Society put some interpretive signs in the windows. You should stop by and read them. They were also responsible for the new Watch Factory Depot sign. We have created walking district brochures for our neighborhood and give them away. It's fun to see people walking by with one in their hand. All the artwork, layout, and everything is done by a volunteer. Jerry Turnquist taught at a nearby junior high. Every year he brought his kids to give them a little historical and architectural lesson in our historic neighborhood. We loved it. We paid to have Jerry Turnquist's presentation on Holy Hill in Elgin videotaped. The Gifford Park Association held an architectural scavenger hunt for Channing grade school kids. They loved it and learned a little bit about our architecture. We helped in the first phase of the rehab of the Laura Davidson Sears building by donating $5,000. We have sent over 400 constant contact electronic emails informing people about houses sold and for sale and interesting info about the neighborhood. We have almost 500 people on our mailing list and often have 50% of them open it, with the national average being only 23%. We paid $4,000 of a $6,000 feasibility study for the DC Cook Mansion. We marketed the mansion online and had 200 people request the study. 10 of those came to view it. We found new owners and have committed $50,000 to help rehab the exterior. What a difference the appropriate porch would make. We have had over 60 architectural salvages in 30 years. We are preservationists, so if a house is scheduled to be torn down, we lobby against it. If we lose, then we ask for architectural salvage. It is some consolation if we can save things from the landfill and give items to the neighborhood to help them rehab their houses. An architectural salvage is administered as a silent auction. Winning bids are sorted, and the winning bidder has to remove his own materials. We typically do a whole house in a weekend. This house on State Street had 8 wonderful fireplace mantels, all of which were saved. All of the original trim in the house was also saved. The Lovelton salvage at the corner of Villa and Liberty saved thousands of things from the landfill, and we netted over $10,000 on it. Look at the mansion that used to be there. We saved those massive, almost 11-foot tall doors and the fancy balustrade from that original mansion. We appreciate being recognized by the city for our efforts. We got a nice little plaque for it. Thanks. From our very beginning, the Gifford Park Association lobbied the city of Elgin to start an apartment licensing program. They would not. Finally, when we saw an article in the paper that said Aurora was starting a rental licensing program, we sent it to the city council, and shortly thereafter, they started their own rental licensing program. They didn't want to be outdone by Aurora. This is a huge mansion that used to sit between Gifford and Channing. Not all of our efforts ended with the desired outcomes, but the process puts forth new ideas and raises awareness of issues. When plans were made to fill the long vacant site of a former mansion with new and more modest homes, GPA objected, as they were too close together and not attractive. GPA paid an architect to draw up a design that would mimic the original building, but contain condos. New outbuildings were included. Had the condo units been built, the number of units would be approximately the same as proposed by the developer, but the impact would have been completely different. The developer would not listen to our arguments and went ahead and built his single-family homes that are not very attractive. They sit way up on the hill, and the huge porch aprons were not according to plans and looked terrible. The city did not force them to make appropriate porch aprons. We paid for, and the Historical Society designed, an interpretive sign for Reprinted Park, which is on Dundee Avenue across from the Burger King. In 2008, the Gifford Park Association received the National Trust for Historic Preservation Award for Organizational Excellence. The award was given at a national conference in Tulsa, and many of us attended. What an honor. In 2007, the Preservation Council of Illinois awarded their Richard Dreyhaus Foundation Award to us for leadership. The trophy is a wonderful model of the Stock Exchange building that was demolished, and it opens up to show the inside. We cherish it. We have done a great deal to improve Elgin's image, especially through our Housewalk, and have been recognized for it twice. We have been awarded 5 Mayor's Awards for our efforts. We were given a nice award from the Garfield Farm organization for our efforts in preservation. Feels great to be recognized. We sponsored a nationally known preservationist to come to Elgin to talk to us about preservation. We donated $10,000 to the rehab of the Nancy Kimball's Cobblestone, which shows that not all of GPS efforts have been confined to its own neighborhood. Here's an example of not only helping to save an historic building, but to promote preservation of a neighborhood pride in other parts of town. The soffit and fascia have not been rebuilt. The colors shown are not the ones to be used. Here's how it looks today. The only exterior project left is landscaping and that soffit fascia. Our first Housewalk was funded with members' credit card. We had about 500 participants. Our record participation was 2,500. The importance of the historic Elgin house tours is multifaceted and central to GPA history. When we survey participants, they often say that the Housewalk improved their image of old house living in Elgin. We've had several people buy old houses in Elgin because of their experience on the Housewalk. It takes about 300 volunteers to carry it out, so everybody in Elgin, including city, school, and business leaders, come out to make it happen. We have brought lots of people to Elgin to participate in our turkey trot. Our golf outings brought people together and were a fundraiser for us. I love GPA so much I showed it in my license plates. My daughter was so embarrassed by them that she would not tell her friends what the letters stood for. I still see some of these bumper stickers in Elgin. Back in the 80s, we made door decals for members. They still can be seen around the neighborhood. For years and years, we lobbied to get the Doughboy in Davidson Park lit at night. We always got excuses why it couldn't be done. We finally did it, and it looks wonderful. Ironically, because it wasn't planned, it was done on the 100th anniversary of the U.S. involvement in World War I. We have lots of artists in our group, and one had an interesting idea to take porch apron boards from an old house salvage and have artists paint them. It was a fun contest, and we sold them as a fundraiser. Our neighborhood Fall Fest has been a huge success. It brings people in the neighborhood out to get to know one another. The kids absolutely love being creative with pumpkins and cookies. The Gifford Park Association helped bring a community garden to the old Channing Y site. Lots of volunteers helped build the boxes. We give an award called the Chuck and Audrey Behrens Award for long-standing and exemplary service to the neighborhood. We have given out 24. The old First Universalist Church, shown on the left, was moved 50 yards east to make way for the new church shown on the right. It became rooms for Sunday school classes. The new owners have done an amazing job at rehabbing the building and use it for church services. The fancy stained glass windows need some work, and the Gifford Park Association has offered $1,000 to help with the expense. Here's the amazing interior. What a great job they've done. Here are the wonderful windows which are being repaired. GPA projects that do not have a slide to show them are, we've given hundreds of pumpkins to Channing school kids on Halloween. We've had pumpkin decorating contests. We sponsored many educational seminars on topics like house painting, landscaping, roses, etc. We purchased books on history and architecture for schools in the neighborhood. We've sponsored numerous litter cleanup days. We sponsored a local craftsman to go to a seminar to hone his skills. We did a lot of landscaping at the Channing School. We printed an attaboy door hanger to compliment homeowners on nice work. We gave out buckets of rehab items to new homeowners as a welcome wagon gift. We have sponsored neighborhood garage sales. We man a water station every year for the Foxtrot. We've had several 4th of July festivities in the park where kids played games and participated in a parade of their decorated bikes. To improve our neighborhood over the next 40 years, we need you. We would love to see you join our organization. You don't need to live in the neighborhood. If you'd like to join the organization, go to our website at gpaelgin.org and it'll tell you how to do that. Thanks for listening.